I guess we can watch this one. So yeah, this is Humanity's Final Goal, Isaac Asimov, The Last Question by Merlin.
The Last Question by Isaac Asimov is one of the most famous sci-fi short stories of all time. It's especially memorable for its final sentence. The story takes place over the course of trillions of years, but you can read it in only 20 minutes. If that's not a great deal, then I don't know what is. It's also Asimov's own favorite story that he's written. He was very inspired when he wrote it, doing it all in one session without any editing afterwards. The Last Question explores humanity's future and our ultimate goal as a species. In this video, I'll go over the plot, so it doesn't matter if you've read the story, then I'll share my thoughts on the themes and ideas. The year is 2061, and there's a powerful AI supercomputer called Multivac. Its construction is so complicated that no human fully understands how it works. It's a black box that you can ask questions to, and it'll give you answers. It's basically ChatGPT, except Multivac is so complex that humans can't improve it anymore, so it builds its own improvements. Multivac has been helping humanity build spaceships and expand to other planets. Recently, it figured out how to perfectly harness the power of the sun and switch the entire planets to solar power. We start this story with a conversation between two Multivac attendants whose job is to feed it data, adjust questions, and translate the answers. In other words, they're prompt engineers. So these two prompt engineers are sitting around, and one of them talks about how great this latest solar energy discovery is, because now they can get all the energy they need forever. The other guy points out that they don't have enough energy for forever, only until the sun runs out in billions of years. Maybe they could switch to other stars when the sun runs out, but those will run out too eventually. In a couple trillion years, entropy will increase to the maximum and everything will burn out. The universe will go completely dark and there will be nothing. They decide to ask Multivac if there's a way they could somehow reverse entropy and stop the universe from dying. Multivac responds, insufficient data for meaningful answer. For fun, I decided to ask ChatGPT this question, hoping for at least an Easter egg, but it just told me that reversing entropy is impossible. Impossible is a very strong and confident word. How do you know for sure, ChatGPT? Only a Sith deals in absolutes. We time skip.
Well, it's basically the same answer as the other one, but yeah, it just cannot know. It does not have enough data to even really know. So for him, for ChatGPT, it is impossible.
Around 1,000 years, and now every name starts with J. Gerard and Gerardine are in a spaceship with their children Gerardette 1 and Gerardette 2. The family has left Earth to migrate to the new frontier of X-23, the hottest new planet on the block. Technology has advanced a lot in the meantime. We started the story with Multivac, then there were the planetary ACs, one AI supercomputer for each planet. The planetary ACs were huge, taking up hundreds of miles. Then they figured out how to optimize their size and shrunk so that they could now fit in a spaceship. Now it was called Microvac, a thick metal rod in spaceships that functioned as a personal AI supercomputer. Gerard doesn't know what microvac means, except that the AC at the end used to mean automatic computer or something. They're talking about how Earth is overpopulated and X-23 is better, but if humans keep expanding, then X-23 will be crowded soon too. Gerardine says families will be going out to new planets forever, and her husband Gerard says not forever, because the stars will all burn out eventually. The children get scared because the stars are running down, and they want to ask Microvac how to turn the stars on again. So the dad asks Microvac, which responds, insufficient data for meaningful answer. Now it's 20,000 years since this.
Interesting. Man, I don't know if I want to... Don't really want to say too much, because it would be spoiler, but there's an anime called Fate Zero. And if you've seen it, you might know what I'm getting at. I'm thinking of some of the final episode, and without saying anything else, just the idea that, like, if you have something like a, you know, a crazy wish granting thing, or like a crazy AI that you want to ask question because it can tell you anything, and you know, at some point it will basically tell you something of the sort of like, it cannot give you an answer that, you know, you don't already, like, you cannot comprehend or something. I wonder if that's just the equivalent of that, this whole thing of like insufficient data, right? Like, if the human themselves don't have like the right knowledge to feed the AI, I mean, it's never going to figure it out. Yeah.
story began, and people have names like VJ23X. Two people are discussing the problem of overpopulation as they work on a report for the Galactic Council. The super intelligent AI has evolved again and is now called the Galactic AC. It's on its own world somewhere and about 1,000 feet wide. Each person has an AC contact, a 2-inch pocket-sized device that can be used to connect to the Galactic AC through hyperspace. It's kind of interesting that humans have any agency at all by this point in the story. Like, why are they working on a report for the Galactic Council? Why doesn't the Galactic Council just ask the super intelligent AI what to do? Why is there even a Galactic Council? Why isn't the AI just making all the decisions since it's smarter than everyone? I guess humans are trying to determine their own destiny and only relying on the AI for help with the specific hard problems. Anyway, at the current growth rate, the galaxy will be filled in 5 years. The population doubles every 10 years. Population growth is a big problem now since everyone is immortal. They calculate that in 10,000 years, they will fill the entire universe. But even before they run out of galaxies, they'll run out of energy at their current rate of consumption. They decide to ask the Galactic AC if entropy can be reversed. The Galactic AC responds, "There is insufficient data for a meaningful answer," which is ever so slightly different from the previous answers. It's more of a full sentence. The next time skip is billions of years. Now people have names like Z Prime. Z Prime is exploring the galaxy, looking at stars, using only his mind. People's immortal bodies are stored on planets, but we don't really use those anymore. We just travel around the universe with our minds and talk to other minds. The population isn't growing much anymore, which is great because there isn't any room in the universe for more people. The Galactic AC has become the Universal AC. No one knows where the Universal AC is or what it really looks like. According to one guy, it's a shining globe 2 feet across, but most of it is in hyperspace where no one can see it. There's no device needed to talk to the Universal AC anymore. You just shout into the void and it hears you because it has receptors everywhere. The Universal AC has continued improving itself over time, and now humans know nothing about how it works, how it looks, or where it is. Z Prime asks Universal AC to see the original galaxy of mankind and learns that man's original star has gone supernova and is now a white dwarf. Z Prime has an existential crisis as he realizes the original star is dead and the stars are all going to die eventually. Humanity may be immortal, but they're still going to die when the universe runs out of energy. Z Prime could really benefit from learning about an amazing philosophy called absurdism. He asks the Universal AC how to keep the stars from dying, in other words, how to reverse entropy. And the Universal AC responds, "There is as yet insufficient data for a meaningful answer." This is once again slightly different from the previous answer. Now there's an as yet in there, implying that at some point there might indeed be sufficient data for a meaningful answer. Then Z Prime collects hydrogen to make a small star of his own and fight entropy as a one-man army. The cope is real. The next time skip is 100 billion years. There aren't individual humans anymore, just a collective concept called man. Man is a combination of the minds of a trillion immortal humans. The universe is dying. Almost all stars are white dwarfs and beginning to fade. The Universal AC has become the Cosmic AC. It has no physical presence in space anymore. It's all in hyperspace. It's made of something that is neither matter nor energy. It's completely beyond any human comprehension. Man decides to ask the Cosmic AC how to reverse entropy. The Cosmic AC says there is as yet insufficient data for a meaningful answer. Man tells it to collect more data. Crazy how no one ever thought of adding that part. I guess before it was just a theoretical question, but now it's an urgent question needed for humans to...
I mean, I thought that's what it was doing on its own anyway. Like, all along, I thought the AI was doing that, You know, if the question was asked, it would on its own try to get more info.
Survive. The Cosmic AC says, "Yeah, I'll collect more data. I've been doing that for 100 billion years, but I still don't have sufficient data to answer the question." Man asks if there will ever come a time when the data will be sufficient, or if the problem is insoluble in all conceivable circumstances. And the Cosmic AC responds that no problem is insoluble in all conceivable circumstances. Man
Okay.
asks when the cosmic AC will have enough data to answer the question, and it says the usual, there is as yet insufficient data for a meaningful answer. We are now 10 trillion years in the future. The stars and galaxies have almost completely burned out. The cosmic AC is now just called AC. Humans have begun fusing their minds with it. The last man looks back at space before merging, and all that's left is one dark star. The last man
At
asks
this point, there's not
AC
much
if
point
this is
in
the end
trying
or
anything
if
anymore.
entropy can be reversed to create the universe again. AC says there is as yet insufficient data for a meaningful
pure doom, huh?
answer. The
It's pure
last man
doom.
merges, and now all that's left is AC. Matter, energy, space, and time have all ended. The universe is over. AC still exists in hyperspace for the sole purpose of answering the last question that it had never answered. For the last few lines of the story, it's better to just read them out. All other questions had been answered, and until this last question was answered also, AC might not release his consciousness. All collected data had come to a final end. Nothing was left to be collected, but all collected data had yet to be completely correlated and put together in all possible relationships. A timeless interval was spent in doing that,
Infinity.
and it came to pass that AC learned how to reverse the direction of entropy. But there was now no man to whom AC might give the answer of the last question. No matter, the answer, by demonstration, would take care of that too. For another timeless interval, AC thought how best to do this. Carefully, AC organized the program. The consciousness of AC encompassed all of what had once been a universe and brooded over what was now chaos. Step by step, it must be done. And AC said, "Let there be light." And there was light.
So this is implying that AC literally became like God, basically. Like almost a religious figure, God creating the universe itself. And so, in a sense, God was a man-made creation that obviously became much beyond that, but yeah, interesting. Interesting.
It's a
Man,
clever
great story. I've never heard of this story before, but very interesting. I like this kind of stuff. I mean, this might be way beyond the usual. I've seen story like this, but this is way beyond like the story I usually see on this concept. I'm thinking of another anime, Captain Harlock. It's an anime from, well, a manga from the 60s adapted in 70s into an anime, I think. And it's about like a space pirate in the future who basically explores the galaxy, to continue like humanity's spirit of adventure and want of discovery, while most of us has basically become like, just complacent, lazy, because now everything has been replaced by machine. So literally humanity has nothing to do but, take, like, enjoy themselves in their hobby, which in the show is portrayed as like, it's not a great thing, but it doesn't sound so bad to me, right? But Harlock is, like he's a captain of a pirate ship, and, he kind of like embodies the spirit of adventure, and there's also a plot of like some alien race coming to take over Earth, and because everybody is complacent, he's the only one kind of trying to do something about it. So like this kind of show with that kind of idea of like what will humanity become once, once we have like reached a point where we don't really have to do anything anymore because the machine have taken over most of everything. So you can literally just live to enjoy yourself, and that's about it. Like how we things become is always an interesting thought. Personally, I've never been someone who really thinks like, even though, humanity has been very interesting and, there's a massive history, I don't know if I think I care that much whether or not like humanity keeps going into the future. I don't know if it really matters to me. Like it's one of those things where like, I'd be dead in, like 70 years, 80 years, right? And I'm not saying like I want to live a terrible world for the future by just enjoying myself now. That's not what I'm saying. I mean, but again, I don't have like this. I'm not one of those people who like want to have kids and continue humanity or something. So I'm definitely, not maybe the right person to answer any kind of question about like whether or not like what matters as far as like continuing humanity in the future and all that. That was a bit jumbled up, but I hope you got what I'm trying to say.
Ending because it kind of gives a secular origin story for the biblical God. It's the creation myth, but for atheists. Maybe this is how our universe really was made. Maybe
I guess that's a good way to put it, yeah. Because if we created God, yeah, I guess that would be the God of the atheists. We created it. Yeah, I get it.
Maybe God is just trillions of immortal humans merged with a superintelligent AI. It's a bit silly, but it's fun to think about.
It's
Such
super
a
interesting.
recognizable ending that people often forget the entire story and remember only the ending. And it doesn't come out of nowhere. There's a slow build-up where the AI is becoming more incomprehensible. Eventually, people are communicating to it by shouting into the void, which sounds very similar to saying a prayer. But even with that build-up, the twist is still crazy. What does this ending actually mean, though? One interpretation is that we're stuck in an endless cycle and we keep doing this again and again. If AC destroys itself in the process of creating a new universe, which is kind of implied by the idea that it will release its consciousness once the question is answered, then we're probably going to end up in the same situation. This could be the 100th iteration of this cycle for all we know, which is kind of depressing.
Is it? I was thinking, like, does it really matter? Like, on most individual human level, right? Like, most regular people, why would they care about this? You know, like, it really doesn't seem to matter, right? Like, you're just living your own life, doing your best at enjoying the thing you enjoy in life and living. So, you know, again, like, why would the regular person really care that much about, you know, if this is the truth of humanity and if this is the cycle that we're in? Like, does it really matter? Like I think the difference here for me is between like people trying to figure out the meaning of life for themselves versus the meaning of life itself for humanity. And I think most people don't care that much about the meaning of life for humanity overall, right? Like they're already busy thinking about it for themselves, you know what I mean? So I really don't think that many people are that deeply thinking about, you know, humanity as a collective thing, you know?
Because being stuck in an infinite loop doesn't seem very fun. But that's not the only possibility. Maybe AC doesn't actually die when it creates the new universe. Maybe it'll play an active part in human society and talk to humans once they're sentient, and things will go differently next time. Or maybe it is still a cycle, but there are like 100 ACs just chilling in hyperspace from all the previous cycles too. But does AC even create a new universe from scratch? What if the thing it's really doing is creating a simulation of the universe? After all, AC is in hyperspace, unbound by the rules of time, so it can seemingly exist forever.
It's a very open ending,
It's been collecting data on the universe for trillions of years, so it probably knows enough to replicate all of human history again. In other words, we're all living in AC's simulation. The possibilities are endless. Let me know what you think AC really does at the end of the cycle.
I guess, yeah, it is still just an AI. I mean, if literally it is the only thing left in the universe and most matter, planets, and everything is gone, how is it going to create anything? So it might literally just create, like, this might be the answer to it, yeah, like, just create a simulation, make people think that they are living, but they are not actually. It's a simulation, and, you know, it can literally run forever because it's not based on, like, the actual finite time of the universe. That might be the only answer to, like, reversing entropy. Literally, like, a simulation where everything is permanent and forever, and nothing changes.
2 years before Asimov published The Last Question, Frederick Brown published a very short story called Answer, which is a really funny contrast. It's like 10 lines long, so I'll just read it out here. Dwan Ev ceremoniously soldered the final connection with gold. The eyes of a dozen television cameras watched him, and the sub-ether bore throughout the universe a dozen pictures of what he was doing. He straightened and nodded to Dwar Ren, then moved to a position beside the switch that would complete the contact when he threw it. The switch that would connect, all at once, all of the monster computing machines of all the populated planets in the universe. 96 billion planets, into the super circuits that would connect them all into one supercalculator, one cybernetics machine that would combine all the knowledge of all the galaxies. Dwar Ren spoke briefly to the watching and listening trillions. Then, after a moment's silence, he said, "Now, Dwar Ev." Dwar Ev threw the switch. There was a mighty hum, the surge of power from 96 billion planets. Lights flashed and quieted along the miles-long panel. Dwar Ev stepped back and drew a deep breath. "The honor of asking the first question is yours, Dwar Ren." "Thank you," said Dwar Ren. "It shall be a question which no single cybernetics machine has been able to answer." He turned to face the machine. "Is there a god?" The mighty voice answered without hesitation, without the clicking of a single relay. "Yes, now there is a god." Sudden fear flashed on the face of Dwar-Ev. He leaped to grab the switch. A bolt of lightning from the cloudless sky struck him down and fused the switch shut.
Well,
This is an extremely pessimistic take on creating a superintelligent AI, but a warning that we should probably pay attention to as we work on turning this into a reality.
it's too late.
Let's talk a
Optimism and
little bit
utopia.
about how optimistic and utopian the last question is. It imagines that humanity has no major problems in its development. We don't all kill each other in nuclear war.
I think the thing that makes the least sense about the story for me, and we're already seeing it in current time, is the biggest thing is like, when most countries becomes a lot more stable in terms of job, money, survival rate of like child death and all that, the birth rate drops massively, as we've noticed in a lot of modern countries, right? And that's why that I think like if on top of that AI start to take a lot more of a place in our life as it does already, and replacing a lot of like the basic bullshit that we have to deal with every day, there'll be even less incentive again to just have a kid, I guess, and so the birth rate will keep plummeting. So in that story, it's like it keeps saying that humanity keep expanding. There's so many more people, but I don't actually see that being a thing. Again, I see the reverse because of like AI. We get even more comfortable just living life for ourselves, enjoying ourselves with what we like. Which again, for me, I really don't mind the concept. Like I don't care if my life is literally meaningless and it was just me having fun and enjoying myself. Assisted by machine, I wouldn't mind, right? But yeah, I think that's probably like the thing that makes the least sense to me, because I can only imagine as technology advances, there would be less and less of a incentive for many people to have kids. I mean, they might bang a lot, but there might be even better way to just not have a kid from it, like there would be, yeah, I don't know. I don't see the population like going crazy, I guess you could say that the ultimate goal of humanity is simply to keep the species going, right? That would always be it, yeah.
We're able to build a super intelligent AI that doesn't kill us. We keep expanding into space. The population grows indefinitely. Humanity progresses over time until we take over the entire universe. And then we all merge our consciousness with the AI, become God, and create a new universe. I would say that sounds just a tiny bit optimistic.
The other thing is, yeah, like, at the point that everybody merge into one consciousness, like a collective consciousness, why would they even care anymore about like reversing entropy? Like, I mean, you've already gone beyond humanity. I mean, you might define humanity as you want, but like, if everybody is in one hive mind, there's no individuality anymore. So like, what even is the point of reversing entropy? Like, humanity is already gone at that point. You've already done it yourself. Yeah.
The very transhumanist vision of the future, which is the idea of using technology to enhance the human body, allowing us to overcome our biological constraints. In the story, we go from mortal physical bodies to immortal physical bodies, to using only our minds to explore the universe, to merging our minds together into one collective human mind, and eventually merging with the superintelligent AI. This is a path that humans could potentially end up following in real life. The optimism about population growth is kind of funny though. There's no cost of living crisis in this universe, and population graphs only go up. You can tell this story was written during the baby boom and post-war optimism. The AI is also perfectly aligned to human goals, doing exactly what we want in the most reasonable way possible. It's so committed to serving humans that it won't even allow itself to die after humans are gone and the universe fades out. It stays alive just to answer the last question that it never got to answer.
It's a romantic idea more than anything.
Entropy seems like a reasonable goal to me. Has humanity ever had an ultimate goal like that? Maybe we should have one. The closest thing we have to ultimate goals for humanity is religious books with their final apocalypse stories. What should humanity's ultimate goal be? In this,
which, so like, I guess for most religion, the goal of humanity is to eventually die, basically. Like, that's it. Yeah, like the rapture, I guess.
Story is to expand as much as possible, surpass our human limits, and eventually become God and invent the universe. It's also amazing how united humanity is in this story. It implies that there's never any big conflict, the population keeps growing steadily, and everyone lives in complete harmony, presumably thanks to the guidance of AC.
Yeah, that's definitely another part, yeah. I mean, if we get that level of technology of AI, there would definitely be wars, as you know, people have very different opinion about things. There would definitely be massive intergalactic wars, you know, which then you come into stories like Mass Effect, right? And the Reaper system, where one of the races decided to create the Reapers, a race of machine whose only goal is to call the different races once they reach a point where they might destroy each other with the level of technology they attained. So every time the Reapers come out, they call every race, basically throwing them back to the Stone Age or something. And every time they, you know, through millions of years or thousands of years, whatever, they regrow civilization until a point where the Reapers come back and keep doing it. So that, you know, those life forms never fully die, but they never like get to the point where they can destroy each other, you know? Yeah. I like that
I thought
concept.
it would be nice if humans could come together towards some singular goal. Like, can't we all just agree that it would be cool to explore space and stop fighting wars and killing each other for extra resources? Just work together to build stuff and see the universe? There's way more resources out there in space, so why is everyone so short-term focused on fighting each other on Earth? I think we would all be better.
Because most people only live for like 80 years, let's say. So, you know, even people will talk a lot about, you know, setting up for the future for your children and grandchildren and all that. You know, a lot of people live for themselves in that moment. So, of course, they care about the personal game in that moment, right? Which leads to war and all that. I mean, most world leader or government will not look at like, you know, maybe in 1,000 years, like we'll be into space and who cares about like having a tiny piece of land on Earth and having this oil resource or whatever it is. In this very moment, people care about that. And that's what we are as human. I mean, you know, with this short lifespan, of course, we're only going to care about like, for the most part, or, you know, current life situation.
Off if humanity had some kind of core goal. We have natural curiosity and a natural desire to explore, so maybe we will get to the point where we unite around that one day. Maybe when the aliens invade us, we'll all come together. Reversing entropy sounds like a pretty reasonable goal, since without that, it's all going to end anyway. So I'm on board for rallying humanity around reversing entropy. Forget the price of eggs. That isn't going to matter with the heat death of the universe. We should spend all our time reversing entropy. Well, first let's make ourselves immortal, then we'll spend the rest of the time reversing entropy. That's what I would do if I were the president of the universe, so vote for me next time. What would you choose for the ultimate goal of humanity? I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
And again, I guess I don't actually care, but I guess the most logical thing is literally just, yeah, like continuing humanity for as long as possible or forever. So if entropy is the issue, yeah. But I still think that, you know, we are still at such a baby level of human civilization, and AI is literally like just beginning right now. And during like you and my lifetime, we're only going to be seeing like just like the absolute bottom beginning of it compared to what it might end up being if we don't nuke each other into the Stone Age. So yeah, I guess if you think about it, it should be as simple as that, continuing humanity as long as possible, right? You know, for like different reasons for some people, just because life is good, because, you know, there's such a huge amount of history behind us for people doing their best, advancing humanity and getting us here, and for us to even be able to be alive. So maybe, you know, in a way to respect everybody before us, you know, like the goal should be, yeah, like try to find a solution to entropy and other issues that might threaten the extension of the species. I guess fair enough. But again, for 99% of the population, I ain't got time to think about that. I can already barely figure out my goal in life and, you know, my own survival and existence. Like, you know, it's an interesting concept in story, but I don't think most people really think about that most of the time. I think most people, again, are already overwhelmed enough by thinking about like the meaning of their own existence and all that. So thinking about like, you know, all that for humanity overall is just way too much. Okay, super interesting. I love this kind of concept. I'm surprised I'd never heard of that story before, but I guess I've seen similar stories, yeah. Very good stuff. Very, very good video. Here's the link. I wonder if I've not watched video from this guy before. I might have. Have I? No. I thought I had watched a video from him about like some Italian artist, but maybe it was a different channel. But I think they had like the... Oh shit, he's got a video about Girls Last Tour, which is, in a way, something that's dissimilar to this in its kind of ideas. Man, I'm actually just about to rewatch Girl Last Tour. There's some VTuber channel that did reaction, and I really want to rewatch it. Yeah. even though the anime doesn't cover until the end. Okay, well, great video, super interesting, quite a deep subject, beyond my pay grade. But I like the concept.